Following active hurricane seasons in 2004 and 2005 and heavy stormwater runoff from urbanized southwest Florida, a massive red tide and dead zone developed in 2005. Another major red tide developed in the fall of 2017 following heavy runoff from Hurricane Irma. This red tide persisted for over a year and was carried by currents around the Florida Keys and seeded the largest red tide ever on Florida's east coast. We had the opportunity to sample the red tide offshore Sanibel Island and found enriched nitrogen isotope values characteristic of wastewater nitrogen.
2/3 of all the rain on the west coast of Florida falls between June and September. And that means every bit of nutrients will show up there. Typical blooms are probably just natural phenomena, but these unusual blooms may very well be exacerbated by runoff.
The bubble surfaces come up through the water, they scavenge toxins, and when they get to the surface of the water, the bubble surface is loaded with toxins, and then they burst with little jet drops and film drops going up into the air. And we found up to 50 times the amount of toxin in those aerosolized jet drops as was in the bulk water.
We know that there's an acute response, and particularly people who have asthma, and that acute response lasts 3 to 5 days after that exposure on the beach. We also know that the toxins do travel inland. I have concerns of the people who have had COVID and been able to get over COVID.
Brevetoxin could be another one of those things that feeds the fire of inflammation in the brain. And the key point is that we know that inflammation can predispose us to conditions like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and cerebrovascular disease.
80% of the businesses here in Lake County are small businesses, so they rely on these economic engines, right? They rely on these things that make us successful. So if things affect that, if our water quality is affecting our tourism, that trickles down all the way through down to the smallest two-man business in our area.
It certainly had an impact in terms of our visitors that come to Lake County. You know, they've got rooms booked for the summer or for a week or what have you, and you know, when they get here, they take one step out their door and say, this is not for us, and then they check out. And the key here is to how do we bring these people back in the future?
Going to city water and city sewer is not a new phenomenon. It's not an experimental phenomenon. It's been around for years. There is no reason to not have our state be on treated water and treated wastewater and put back into our environment clean products instead of products that are full of phosphorus, full of nitrogen, feeding things like red tide.
While improved stormwater management and wastewater treatment could help mitigate red tides over the long term, other efforts are now underway to reduce the effects of the blooms in nearshore areas where the impacts are most severe.